genre.
The weekly podcast where we review, discuss, and recap every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I'm Cassandra Fredrickson.
I'm Nick Jimenez.
And I'm Scott Corelli.
And today on the show, we'll be discussing The Highlanders, the second Doctor's second story.
Yeah, I've got some fun stuff to discuss as far as The Highlanders is concerned. But first, there's been some Doctor Who news that I thought we should talk about. So we'll start with the oldest news first, which is that
the show is coming back in 2005.
Yeah, so the show has started filming series 10. It's been filming for about a week now, I believe. And they've started doing location shooting, and we've seen now what Peter Capaldi looks like for series 10. Have you guys seen him yet?
No.
He's got his hair is super shaggy.
Oh.
It's really awesome. It's shaggy and kind of wild looking. It's really great.
That's cool.
Yeah. He's really cool.
Does he look like Dr. Emmett Brown?
No, it's not that shaggy.
Okay.
It's just like
kind of Beethoven-y?
It just looks like the Doctor's been hanging out in the back of a van for a while.
Which could be literal.
Yeah. He's just a little shaggy. It's good. It's a good look for him.
I want season 10 to open, and he's just in the studio with Pink Floyd, and he's writing time. And find out 10 years have gone by and you missed the starting gun. Gotta write that down.
So the big announcement as of the start of filming is that the premiere will feature the return of a Doctor Who character that we all know and love, which is Nardole, played by Matt Lucas from the Last Christmas special.
I have a question.
I hate this character so much, and I hate
one
this
is
actor. He's like the chubby bald guy that I really hated.
Oh, the
one that I said was
that ends up in the mech suit or whatever.
Yeah,
okay,
right. Yeah, and that's the thing is he was decapitated in the last one. So is he just gonna be
I have a question
around in that mech suit?
Yeah.
Does it specifically say that he's playing that character, or does it just say that Matt Lucas is coming back?
I think they said that it was his character Nardole.
Because I only say that because Matt Lucas is such a character actor kind of dude that
right.
I don't know. He seems like maybe someone that could get away with being the voice of an alien or something. That's probably not it. He probably is that character, but I just really want to believe that it's not because it was just such a nothing character.
He said, "I'm chuffed to bits that Nardole is returning to the TARDIS for some more adventures."
Oh, well, there you go. Was he in the TARDIS last time? I guess he was.
I don't remember. He's the human being equivalent of a nervous fart, and I hate it.
I just realized that I haven't seen that special since Christmas.
Do you normally rewatch the specials?
No.
Okay.
But I also don't.
6 months ago?
Yeah, that was 6 months ago. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not super thrilled. And the picture that that is up on the website of him as Nardole, he just looks like Cartman. He's got an orange jacket and a beanie with a blue and red beanie. I mean, he looks like Cartman. That can't be an accident. That I'm gonna put the link in the chat window so you guys can see. But he just looks like Cartman.
Oh my god, he totally does.
Yeah, right? Super weird. So anyway, so he's coming back. I'm not thrilled about that.
Sure.
But hopefully he won't be back for this year's Christmas special. Which, I've heard rumors that this Christmas special was actually the thing that Peter Jackson directed and will also feature Captain Jack Harkness. So
awesome.
Wow, I'm just excited about Peter Jackson working with John Barrowman.
I know, right? That'd be pretty great.
Can you imagine John Barrowman as the Coach Taylor character in King Kong?
Wow. That'd be pretty great.
I know that's like a weird reference on reference, but I hope people understood it.
I followed it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So then the other bit that came out was that Doctor Who is officially an Emmy contender.
This is what I was going to tell you last night, and then it was like Scott probably is going to talk about this on the show. I won't mention it.
Yeah. So the show itself hasn't been nominated, or I should say, isn't not placed on the ballot for Outstanding Dramatic Series. However, Capaldi is included in the lead actor category, and Moffat and Talali are both on there as writing and directing for the episode Heaven Sent.
The one that I said was like a really long Cure music video in the best way.
Yeah. So,
or you could also play. You know what else you could do with that episode? You can make a mean YouTube video of that David Bowie song in Labyrinth, where Sarah's like running through the maze.
Oh yeah, totally.
Your eyes could be so cruel.
I'm sure that's already been done.
Right, I'm
gotta be on YouTube somewhere.
I'm gonna look that up. Or
it's also up for costumes, production design, prosthetic makeup, and visual effects, all for Heaven Sent, which I believe we called the best episode of Doctor Who ever.
And it sounds like the show agrees with us.
Yeah. So it's the first time ever that Doctor Who is an Emmy contender. Ever.
I would like nothing more for this show to win at least some technical Emmys, which I think it probably has more of a shot at, due to the nature of it being a genre show and whatnot. But
right.
I do hope that this happens, if only because it might show the BBC what Doctor Who is worth in 2016. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get where you're going.
Like,
I mean,
it's
they
kind of
have don't they have a massive budget still, all things considered?
Oh, totally. But when you follow a sports team, they're doing good, but they're not being they don't have the money and they're not being funded, and you want something good to happen to that team so they can get back in the limelight again,
Right.
Because it almost feels, I feel like Doctor Who is almost more like a sports dynasty than a television show, due to its history and the amount of people that have been involved with it,
That's true. There's definitely a sense of drafting when we get a new doctor and a new showrunner, and
you have fans that when this guy was coach, that whole era was crap. We never won. It was BS. But then it's you sanctify one coach,
right?
And it's usually the team when you were a kid.
That's true.
Anyway,
so
I've been watching a lot of documentaries.
So the last bit of news is actually spin-off news for the Doctor Who spin-off Class.
Oh, the Noun.
Which last week the showrunner, Patrick Ness, announced that not only will Class have LGBT representation in it, but it will actually be the lead character who will have a boyfriend who he kisses and sleeps with and loves. That's what it says. Which sounds really silly, but is actually really impressive because we're talking about a high school student.
Yeah, I know. That sort of
representation is not ever done. Like
yeah, no, I love the sentiment. That's just such a weird sentence for a grown man to say.
Yeah.
Well, it was that he said, like, okay, so he quotes, been asked if class will have this was on Twitter.
Sure.
Been asked if class will have LGBT representation in it. Will a lead character with a boyfriend who he kisses and sleeps with and loves do?
Oh, okay, cool. The fact that it's a tweet that was never spoken for some reason makes me feel better.
Oh, yeah. And this was
I know that's weird, but for some reason it does.
This was something that they were planning on keeping a secret, but in the aftermath of the Orlando shooting, they decided to let the cat out of the bag because the secret didn't seem very important anymore.
Yeah, and why would it be a secret? You know,
I mean, I guess. I would assume it's because they don't want any information about the show.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like okay, like just like anything. As in like
yeah. I mean, because we don't know anything about the show.
It'd be like if the principal was like Kara Stewart or something,
right? So yeah.
Oh my gosh, how cool would it be if the Tweedledum the Scarf Twins, what was her name? Osgood? What if Osgoods are like the teachers? That would be fun, right?
That would be fun. The teacher's name is Miss Quill, and she's being played by Catherine Kelly. So I think this is meant to be like even more so than Torchwood. Like it's just its own show. It's set in the same universe.
Well, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Have you guys listened to the David Tennant, Catherine Tate audios yet?
Nope.
No.
Saving it.
For what?
For this?
Oh. Gotcha.
Yep. So yeah. So that's all the Doctor Who news fit to print. But yeah, Doctor Who is shooting, which is good. It means that we're probably going to get an early spring premiere. Which is good. Maybe we'll get lucky and even get a January premiere.
Well, hey, Scott. Hey now.
Well, I can dream.
Like right after the Christmas special?
Yeah.
January 1st.
Which is all I've ever wanted.
Oh my gosh. My new dream is for the camera zooms in and it's Capaldi and he's like, there's only one thing we can do. Like, we have to, save the planet. And then he turns to the camera and he's like, and we're coming back on New Year's Day, Scott. And then just like the Doctor board.
What?
He was talking to me, Bethany. He was talking to
me. Yeah.
I've been loving going on Tumblr and seeing like fans interacting with Pearl Mackie. She seems really nice.
Yeah, she does seem cool. All right. Well,
what's her name again? Pip. Bill. It's Bill. It's
Bill. Yeah, it's Bill. Yeah. Not my favorite. Pip. I would actually like Pip more, I think.
Pip's so condescending of a name. Can you imagine if Rob Stark's name was like Chip Stark?
Chip Stark. I mean, honestly, he sounds like friggin' like just like the coolest guy.
I am Chip Stark, King of the North. You will fight with us. All right, we've not talked about the episode for as long as we can.
Oh,
not even. Yeah, totally. It's not even a bad episode.
Let's talk about the Highlanders then. Written by Elwyn Jones and Jerry Davis, and directed by Hugh David.
Tell us about it, Scott. Historically.
Oh, historically?
Yeah. Tell me a story.
Well, I mean the big. It is a historical episode, which there aren't a lot of those. It's actually the last pure historical episode until the Black Orchid. 1982, which is a Fifth Doctor story, it's interesting because there aren't. I really like the pure historical episodes. But the show has sort of decided that that's not what the show is.
It's like 70% space, 40% time.
Well, it depends on who's running it, because Russell T was the opposite.
He loved history.
Yeah, he loved history, but he never did pure historicals. They always had like a alien bent to them, a sci-fi bent to them.
Well, it depends on your definition of history, Scott.
Mine is actual history.
Okay.
But yeah, so we have Ben and Polly, and they decided to introduce a new companion. This in this story named Jamie McCrimmon, who would go on to be the second Doctor's companion for the rest of his tenure.
We should also say that this is an incomplete episode. This is one of the shows that were lost in the fire.
Yeah, which is really unfortunate because I think the episode plays fine as a reconstruction, but I would say that it has a pace that doesn't suit reconstruction as well. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of like explaining what's happening that you can't see what's happening in the reconstruction, because it's sort of a quiet episode, really. A quiet serial. I think that this would probably be in my top 5 stories that if I could only get 5 to be returned, this would be one of them, I think. Just because I think it's a good story that I think would get a lot more respect if it existed. So, anyway, why don't you tell us about part 1, Nick?
I will.
Okay.
We open. I always feel like I'm pitching it to the listeners, like I'm in a studio. All right, exterior Scotland, like legit, like 1746, like so far back in time, and
like totally the past.
Yeah, they're totally in the past, you guys. And the McLaren clan, as well as Jamie, the aforementioned Jamie, are in the Battle of Culloden Moor in 1746. And the kind of patriarch of the family, this kind of old, bearded, like kind of he looks like a wizard. The laird is like wounded, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna die." And there's Alexander, the son, Colin, and then the daughter, Christy. And they're holed up in a house, and the dad's like on a cot. You know what I mean? And
then Jamie's a piper.
Yeah, then Jamie's a piper. And I really like this episode. I had a lot of fun with it. I think it had like a really rollicky fun. It kind of felt like I was reading like an old forgotten adventure novel. You know what I mean? And part of the reason for that is I think that these characters are immediately so memorable. And I'm thinking about what Cassandra was saying last time with the episode. And yeah, when you have empathetic characters, it just makes everything. It makes the exposition and world building so much easier to swallow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So meanwhile, the TARDIS arrives nearby. Ben, the TARDS. It's like his little nickname for it.
Oh, I thought that's what you were calling the crew of the TARDIS.
Oh my god, no! No, that's...
Oh my god.
Like, that seems awfully rude. They seem pretty calm.
I mean, I was just like, that's a weird choice. They seem fine.
I'm probably gonna edit that out.
Oh my goodness.
Never spoken like that before, but such a random group. Big fan Polly and the Doctor. So they come out, and it's really weird. They think they're home at first. Like, Ben's like, "Oh, this place looks like our home," and they argue about that for too long. honestly. And then a cannonball like almost hits them, and they're like, "Oh, we're in the past."
The doctor finds a hat.
Oh yeah, the doctor finds like a weird hat, and then he finds
It's like the running theme of this story is that the doctor keeps finding cool hats to wear.
But then the joke is like he finds out that it's like a military hat, and then he's like, "Ew, black war," and he like throws it on the ground.
And then the Scots are like, "You pick that hat up and show some respect." He's like, "Ooh, sorry."
Oh, can we talk about how friggin' sassy Patrick Troughton is this entire episode?
Oh, it's the best.
He just has
Patrick Troughton is fantastic.
He really is.
He just has no patience for anyone, not Ben or Polly or anybody.
No, but in a really playful way, which is different from Hartnell.
Yeah, you can tell that he's like just having a laugh all the time.
Right. Oh, it's so good.
You can tell that like Matt Smith was like directly influenced by Patrick Troughton's Doctor, especially in these like first ones, because like with the hat thing, and later on he's just having fun and like in it for like giggles, I guess.
You know what? You know what the Doctor kind of is, especially 11, and maybe Troughton, but I haven't seen enough. He's like the worst parts of your little brother and your older brother, like combined. Like he acts like he's smarter than you, like an older brother, but he also like embarrasses you like a younger brother.
I just think of him. I think of Troughton as like that uncle that is like maybe your parents' younger brother. So he's like not really attached to anybody, and he's just like, "Hey, come on, let's go have fun." And you're like, "Okay, whatever."
Yeah. Like maybe he takes you to an R-rated movie.
Yeah.
You know what's really interesting about this story that I'm actually like sort of impressed by is that this is a story about Scotland's War of Independence.
Mm-hmm.
And as such, the Redcoats are in this. We're the British, and they're the bad guys.
Yeah, they're all dicks.
And this is a British show. This is a show from the UK, and they're like, "Yeah, we were the bad guys." Like, this is not something that would happen in America.
No, yeah, it would be like if the Doctor went to like a Japanese internment camp.
Yeah, or Native Americans or something. Like, that wouldn't happen. And I just think that that's really interesting.
So meanwhile, the Scots are are back in that cottage, and they're like, "Oh, we messed up, we lost, Pa's about to die. This is the pits," and they're like, "Oh, we hate the prince. He fled the battle." And then Alexander's like, "Don't talk crap about the prince." And then they're like, "Oh crap, they're coming." Meanwhile, the group, the Dr. Ben and Polly, are they find a cannon, and then the Doctor sees another hat on the ground, and the Scots surround them, and they force everyone inside of the cottage, and hearing their accents, they think that they're Englishmen. And they're like, "Come like to, loot the corpses or whatever." But then when they hear Polly call him the Doctor, they're like, "Oh, you can help Pa. You can help make my father better." Meanwhile, Ben steals a gun and then points it at Ben's super aggro in this episode.
Yeah,
he is. He is.
And so
he's also he is very aggro, and I feel like his accent, his voice should not be coming out of the person that it's coming out of. That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that the circumstances in which we viewed this episode don't help that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, because it is just photographs and us like, "Oh, my design Doctor."
Sometimes there's little 3D animation over the photographs, though.
Oh yeah, no, it's so endearing how they like kind of try to like spruce up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like when that red coat's smoking a pipe in episode 4, and they like add like animated smoke.
Yeah.
Like, oh, bang. That's cute.
It's like when you're going.
My first instinct when I see that, I was just like, "Oh, guys, you didn't have to do that.
You shouldn't have."
It's like when you're going through like a neighborhood haunted house, and you're like, "Oh my god, they really like put work into this."
Yeah. Well, the church really showed up this year.
Well, they got that boy at the high school to design it. It's like that one AV movie kid.
Yeah.
It's the guy from Scream. Oh, Cassandra, you should watch the Scream show that Scott won't watch.
Okay.
I just won't watch it because I have too many things to watch.
Hey, amen to that, dude. I still haven't seen Mr. Robot, and I bought the season like a year ago.
Well, it's your new Fargo.
Oh, don't even get me started on Fargo. Meanwhile, it's okay. So Ben steals a gun, and kind of like watching this episode, I get kind of why the doctor doesn't really ask boys to be companions very often.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just like, oh yeah, like you find like the difference between getting like a young, snappy, like 18, 19, 20-year-old girl and like a shitty, like rancid, gross, like 19, 20-year-old guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're not very chill. I mean, it's important to stay chill when you're traveling in the TARDIS.
What, Doctor? What? I'm not even doing anything. God. Sorry. No, you get like a chill, kind of like reserved, like mellow young woman.
Yeah.
Doesn't freaking point guns at everybody. Anyway, the doctor's like, put that down, and he like helps with Laird, with a paw, the father. Sends the women out to fetch water, and meanwhile, he does. And the Highlanders are like, as long as you're helping, our patriarch, we won't, we won't kill you.
Yeah, specifically the line is, if I help your dad, do you promise that you won't molest us? And I'm just like, oh, this is a different time.
Yeah, it's kind of like that would like be the moment where if they're playing this
time.
Yeah, it's like when you would watch movies or TV shows at school, like on movie day.
Yeah.
And like kids giggle and they're like, gay. You're like, but. Right. We once watched an episode of the episode of Seventh Heaven where a kid in the kids' class is a Holocaust denier.
What?
No.
Yeah,
what? You didn't just make that up just now.
No, I couldn't make that up.
Oh my god.
There's an episode of Seventh Heaven where the youngest son, like the blonde son, this is like an early episode, and like they're learning about World War II and like Auschwitz and all that stuff. And this one like little shithead kid like raises his hand. He's like, "My dad said the Holocaust is a lie. It never really happened. It's a lie by the Jews."
God.
The Seventh Heaven kid's like, that's not chill. That's not a cool thing to think. And so he finds an old man in his neighborhood that actually survived Auschwitz and like brought the old man to the class and like had him tell stories about how like his like mother had to go this way and he had to go that way, and you just cut to the kid and he's just like, oh my god, I made a horrible mistake.
Oh man, that is messed up.
Oh my god.
It's also, was the kid's dad there too? Because if he wasn't, nothing will change in that family.
I think, if I remember correctly, I think that the dad, because like they brought the dad to like show his side of the argument. Like, look at these charts.
Look at these charts.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god.
But anyway,
right.
So speaking of things that are dumb, Ben like just randomly just throws a gun on the table, and it just goes off and attracts attention.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get probably I think the highlight character of the episode, Algernon Finch with 2 Fs. So they surround the cottage, and then Alexander comes out and tries to draw them off, and he is shot and killed, just murdered. In in a show like Doctor Who, you really take for granted how often, so like it's such a weirdly brutal death in a show like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just shot with a bullet, like not vaporized or turned into a skeleton.
Or both.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool with these reconstructions to see what like the censors deemed inappropriate, because that's why those little clips exist.
Explain that whole process to Nick, because I'm sure he doesn't.
They would like lend out episodes to different like BBC like outposts or whatever, so like Australia and then like some in Africa and whatever, and they had different laws, so like the censor would watch it, and then if he deemed it inappropriate or whatever, like if it was too violent or some whatever, they would cut that out of the episode before they aired it. So that's why in the reconstructions there's like these little like 1 second blips of action.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And like this, I believe this battle scene, and then there's another few moments in the other episodes, but it's
so
cool.
They wiped the tape that they aired on television, but the stuff they cut out didn't get wiped because it was just cut out.
Yeah.
So it's sort of it's ironic that what was chosen to be cut out is actually the thing that's on the only surviving footage.
Right? Yeah,
exactly.
So it's only the sexy, violent stuff that survived.
Right. If only all of the countries with BBC outposts had different enough laws that between all of the countries they had all cut the entirety of the episode.
Dude, that is like an Amblin adventure movie. We have to go to each continent to get the footage from the last episode of Doctor Who or something like that.
Yeah.
You have to go like to Bangladesh and like
that would be pretty fantastic.
So meanwhile, everyone's pretty, Alexander getting killed was a lot to deal with. So the Redcoats enter the hut. They're like, oh, well, Ben's a Highlander. He's like, oh, I'm not an Highlander. And then they're like, you're right. You don't sound like a Highlander. Yeah, you're a Brit, and that means that you're a deserter, and we're going to kill you. And then, children, a miracle happened. The Doctor pretends to be a German doctor named Dr. von Weir. Oh my god! And speaks in the most offensive, heavy German accent you ever heard.
Speaking of Holocaust deniers,
yes, and he just mugged, and he just talks his way out of the situation. And I remember looking back, thinking like, oh, what a fun thing to happen in one scene. And how wrong I was.
Oh man.
Yeah. So a few of the Brits are kind of like arguing back and forth, and you can tell that they're not portrayed in a very relatable light, as Scott was saying. They're very interested in just like efficiency and manpower, and they're planning on profiting by the rebellion by selling prisoners to the West Indies, and then they drink some wine.
It's the thing that whenever this came up, so there's two things.
Yeah.
One, it's literally the origin story of Captain Jack Sparrow.
Mm-hmm.
And two, whenever people talk about how much of a mistake it is to have pirates on Doctor Who because it never works, what about the Highlanders?
Yeah.
No, and honestly, I was thinking a lot about the Curse of the Black Spot while watching this because, the title is sort of misleading. You think of the Highlanders and you think of something very like rolling Scotland, and then no, this is like a swashbuckling sea adventure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, you're like, oh, so you can do this. This is very much a part of in the show's wheelhouse,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, pirates work on Doctor Who as long as you do them well, and here you go.
You got to give them anyway. So Polly and Christy come back from getting the water, and then they throw stones at the soldiers, and it's the late 60s. And then the Finch guy follows Christy and Polly. And then they're like, oh, it might be the prince disguised as a woman. So they get away from the soldiers, but Polly's modern day shoes aren't really made for running through Scotland. And so she just throws them.
For walking. Her boots aren't made for walking.
Her boots aren't made for walking. So she throws them away and does who knows what to the space-time continuum to the butterfly effect.
That's a really good point.
I'll just leave my trainers here in 1758 Scotland.
What the hell are those?
Oh my God, kill it. What's all this then? So the sergeant tries to hang the prisoners, even though the officers are away, and then they're about to get hung, but then they're stopped by Gray and Perkins, who bribed the sergeant, and they're released and sent to a place called Inverness. And Gray rejects the doctor and Laird and orders them to be hanged, but then the doctor does his amazing German character again, and points out that there's like some stupid law that says that they can't kill while an officer's not there. Kirsty and Holly are in a hole now. They're in a cave, and they're just talking, and they do not like each other. They are not getting along. They are not being friends.
Mostly because Kirsty's racist.
Kirsty's not very friendly.
She's not into all that Britishness that Polly has.
No.
She's not cool about it.
No, she's mutant and proud.
Yeah.
So Polly, I'm not implying the Scotsmen are mutants. Polly searches for valuables that they can. She's like, yeah, there's this really weird scene where she's like, oh, we'll bribe the guards. And she's just like grabbing at bits of junk and like stuff in her pockets. And she's like, we can sell these. We can sell all of these. And then she sees Chrissy's gold ring. But she's like, no, it belonged to my dad. And she's like, no, we need to sell it. We need to sell it. And then she's like, back up or I will like legit like shank you right now. Like I'm not playing. And Paul is like, well, fine. And then she goes off. And then she's checking out. She falls into an animal trap. And then someone is holding a dagger above her. And the episode ends on a very, I'm sure to be very satisfying cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So ends episode 1.
It's a solid opener.
It gives you a lot. I mean, there's, I keep thinking about the last episode we watched, and there's already so much to care about. You know what I mean?
It's true.
Yeah.
So we come back to episode 2, and our cliffhanger turns out to be a real goosebumps of a cliffhanger because the person holding a knife is just Kirsty. And she's trying to help Polly out, but they fumble and fall all over each other getting out of the hole. And then Finch decides to like go and look for look for the ladies, and Polly and Christy set up a trap and he falls in, and then they take him prisoner. And then back at the homestead, the doctor is tending to Laird, the father figure, and he's trying to figure out what's wrong with him. And it's the point where Jamie's just like, well, what kind of doctor are you? You're not even bloodletting.
Yeah.
Just like, oh my God.
That's how George Washington died.
Is it really?
Yeah. He just kept bloodletting.
Oh man.
He's like, keep going, keep digging.
That's horrible.
One last time indeed.
So yeah, the doctor's like, yeah, I'm not gonna, let's not do that. That's a bad idea.
If I can't German in a way, it's not even worth doing.
Yeah. And yeah. So the, basically like, I mean, this episode is a lot of, sort of wheeling and dealing with the redcoats and the pirates that they've hired to smuggle the Highlanders to the West Indies to be slaves. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so we get like more of that. We meet some of the pirates of the ship and that sort of thing. And the Ben is sort of like getting hooked up with like the prisoners and getting into all of that business because he's our action hero. And the doctor is acting like the German guy. And it's really silly and not the doctor has 3 disguises this episode. And each one is better than the last. So when
the doctor really gets his Tyler Perry on in this episode.
Yeah. When I say, I mean, this is nothing compared to what the third Doctor does.
I miss it, man. Like think about Tennant, Smith, and Capaldi. I feel like are such gifted comic actors. I'm really sorry that they never got the chance to like do any weird character stuff like this.
The weirdest character that the 10th Doctor did was when he pretended to be Scottish, but is actually Scottish. So it was really just his real accent.
Or when he was possessed by Madame Hooch.
Oh yeah, that was pretty good.
That was fun. But like you'd see flashes of it, and you're like, oh, that's so. Or like Billie Piper was so good in that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as we've learned from Penny Dreadful, she's an incredible actress, as it turns out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
my God, Eva Green Eva Green needs to be in the Doctor Who universe as someone. I don't even know who I want more, but
I mean, I just want her to be a Time Lord of some sort.
Ronnie
plays the Doctor, or the Ronnie, or the Master, or
yes.
I don't care anything like
that.
I
don't think I've mentioned this on the podcast yet, but I will. Eva Green is on my list of like, even if it has like a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, like I will check it out.
Oh, I'm definitely going to see Miss Paraguay's. What is it? Paraguay's?
Paragon? Miss Paraguay? Miss Paraguay.
Peregrines, right?
Peregrines, yeah.
Mrs. Paraguay's it's just like a beauty.
Miss Paraguay's Imaginatorium, that show, that movie.
Yeah. Mr. Megorium and Mrs.
Imaginatorium of Orphans, or whatever it's called.
Orphatorium.
Oh my goodness.
So
that sounds like where they fight. We will settle this in the Orphatorium. There's just like a bunch of unwatched orphans that are like in an amphitheater and they're like, yeah, blood.
So
deal. Face the wheel.
So we go back to Christy and Polly, and they've stolen 20 guineas from Finch, the redcoat, and they like threaten to discredit him, and then they take a lock of his hair and leave. They just cut off a piece of his hair.
Can I talk about kind of the weird? There's a lot of weird kind of like pent up, like General Hux, Kylo Ren type like sexual energy between these British soldiers.
A little bit. I totally get that.
Again, we're only allowed audio, like photographs and audio, but like even in these flashes, I'm just like, oh my God, everyone wants to make out with everyone in this.
Yeah. So the sergeant arrives, and Finch is really happy because he's just like, oh, these women, they stole my hair and my money, and I need your help. And
hey.
And the sergeant just like, oh, you know what? You can rot in there. It's fine. But he promises payment when they return to how do you say this? Inverness? Inverness.
I was worried I was saying it wrong.
Inverness. It just sounds like you're saying Inverness.
Yeah. But it's Inverness.
Inverness.
There's an Abbott and Costello routine in there somewhere.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. So Trask, one of the redcoats, he is setting up his next rowboat full of prisoners, and he selects Jamie, Ben, and Lard to go on the rowboat. Lard. And they're taken to the Annabelle, the ship. And then as the prisoners are taken to the Annabelle, Trask orders orders them basically to be thrown over the side and allowed to drown, because that's the only way they're going to get to the Annabelle, because the boat is too heavy. So that's fun. Yeah. So basically, just throw these guys overboard. Whatever.
We're England.
Yeah. Whatever.
We've done horrible
I mean, the whole
things.
point is to get them to the boat, but yeah, just throw them overboard. It's fine.
Google England, India.
Oh God.
So Cass, episode 3.
Oh yeah. So they make it to the ship and they're put in the hold, and Ben's like, "Oh, mate, what's all this then?" Because there's like water and rats probably, and it's awful. And
it's the worst kind of rat.
Traitor. So this
a rat probably.
This Scotsman who's already in the ship, he hears Ben's accent and he's just like, "I'm gonna kill you," and he there's no really like provoking him, like he's just like, "Oh, a Brit, I'm gonna kill you." And
to be fair, Jamie has a very trying voice.
Or Ben.
Yeah.
I love Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie has a great voice.
He really does.
Jamie's one of my favorite companions of all time.
Yes. And the laird, the patriarch of the clan we've been following, he like kind of speaks up and he's like, "Hey, he's with this kooky doctor who's helping me, and he's the reason I'm still alive, kind of, even though he put a gun to my head 2 episodes ago. So leave him alone." And they exchange pleasantries, and they, just talk about like, "Oh, Scotland," and it's cool how they kind of like just identify themselves. They're like, "Oh, I'm from clan whatever." And we find out that this particular Scotsman was the original captain of the Annabelle, and Trask was his first mate, and there was a mutiny. And now he's in the brig. So meanwhile, Ben's like, "Oh, what are we doing on a ship anyway? Why aren't we like being hanged?" And then he's like, "Oh, they're gonna sell us to be slaves." So meanwhile, while Ben is freaking out about that, Kirsty and Polly, they used the money they stole off of Algernon Finch to buy clothes and oranges, I guess, to sell to soldiers so they can find out what happened to the guys, which, I don't know, I guess it's a good plan. So it's a good plan, but they are immediately like escorted to the inn where all the soldiers are staying because they are too like prim and proper to be like orange sellers on the street, I guess. And they're almost arrested, but they're like, "Oh, hey, we know this guy," and it's poor Algernon Finch who's just trying to enjoy a drink. And he's like, "Oh, why? Leave me alone." And the doctor is there, and isn't he in drag at this point?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's like,
of course he is.
Full on old lady. So he's just hanging out in this tavern, just as an old lady, and he sees them, but he doesn't walk up to them yet. And Polly and Kirsty they're trying to get a hold of Gray, the lawyer who's scheming to sell all these guys to the West Indies, and they meet with Perkins, and he kind of figures out what's going on immediately. Like he thinks it's kind of fishy, but he's not the brightest, so he doesn't really know what's going on. And then meanwhile on the ship, Gray is like, "Either you die or you sign this nice piece of paper that I have here that basically makes you a slave for 7 years." And the McCoy, the previous captain, he's like, "No way." And basically him and Ben and Jamie and the Laird are the only other people who aren't immediately like, oh, well, we don't want to die. And they eventually, like, Ben does this thing where he's like, well, I guess I'll just sign my life away and work as a slave. But then he, like, takes the pen and, like, signs it. And then all of a sudden he, like, grabs the paper out and, like, dramatically, like, rips it up. At least in my mind. Like, he's just, like, grabbing it and then rips it up.
Yeah. You say in your mind because we don't actually know because it's still images.
But he's, like, psych, and so he just rips it up. And he gets knocked unconscious somehow. I imagine someone just, like, knocks him on the back of the head with, like, the butt of a rifle. He's like, oh, this kid, whatever. So Perkins is still in the inn with Polly and Kirsty, and he's like, hey, you guys are kind of fishy. I'm going to turn you over to the guard. And the doctor decides to join them as the old woman. And Perkins is like, oh, let's play some cards. And the doctor's like, oh, yeah, I'm down for cards. And he's like, oh, no, not you. And the doctor, like, has a gun and holds Perkins at gunpoint and be like, yeah, we're going to play some cards. So the doctor buys Polly and Kirsty time, and they leave before Perkins, like, raises the alarm. And they all go to the barn where they were hiding in before, at the beginning of the episode when they were, like, dressing up in their orange selling outfits. And Polly and Kirsty are like, oh, I wonder where the boys are, blah, blah, blah. And the doctor's like, oh, yeah, they're on the ship. Yeah, I saw them. I was there. I escaped. Which, it's so funny because all he wants to do is take a nap. And Polly's like, doctor, we have to help them. He's like, no, I'm sleeping. And she's like, oh, do we have a plan? The doctor always has a plan. Doctor, do you have a plan for us? And he's just like, no. And, like, rolls over and, like, tries to sleep. But eventually they like rouse him enough, and they're just like, okay, come on, you guys, let's save the boys. So their plan is to use the money they stole to buy weapons off of the English soldiers and smuggle them aboard. Because Ben ripped up the contracts, Gray's like, oh, I gotta go print some more, this is stupid. So they went back to the inn, and then now they're back at the ship. They're just talking. And so Polly and Kirsty have come back from their errand, and they have, like, a baseball bat, like a broken sword, and something else. And the doctor comes back with, like, an arsenal, which I think is really funny because at this point, like, the doctor isn't purely anti-gun, but he's kind of, like, violence isn't his first answer, but I guess he's really good at smuggling weapons. So they are talking, and the doctor also notices Kirsty's ring, and he's like, oh, what's that? And she's like, oh, yeah, it's this ring that my dad gave me. And the doctor wants to use it as bait because previously he had, like, the flag, I guess, of the prince was on the body of the Laird. And he escapes the ship by being his German persona and bribing Gray with it because there's a bounty on the prince's head. So he's like, oh, I'll mess with this guy, and then we can use it as a distraction. And the cliffhanger is Ben is basically unconscious and tied up and hoisted over the side of the ship and dropped into the water. And I think the idea is he's supposed to be keel-hauled, but the ship isn't moving, so he's just in the water. And then that's it.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
It's almost like he's kind of hazed.
Yeah. He's just like, oh, here we go.
The freshman. So, surprise, episode 4, Ben's not dead. He washes up on the beach, and the doctor is pointing a musket at him. And the doctor thinks about it and then decides not to fire. Best let the boy live. Gray tells Trask that they're setting sail tomorrow with the cargo. Wah. And Trask questions Gray's authority, but he's like, no, man. Again, like, just total, like, I'm in charge. No, I'm like, just like a lot of restrained, like, anyway. It's like a movie. It's like a novel that like Linda from Bob's Burgers would read and get like scandalized by. Ben tells his Ben. So Ben and the doctor and everyone really are planning. So the doctor's like, okay, Ben, row me to the ship. I'll distract Gray with one of my amazing characters. Ben, take the weapons to the prisoners in the hold. Polly, Christy, go get water. I don't know. So, meanwhile, McKay is like, oh, we're playing right into Gray's hands, and the Laird's gonna, die, and just, knock his, dark night of the soul. And so they're about to initiate Operation the Doctor's Amazing Characters, and they go into Trask's room, and the Doctor's like, hey, I found the Prince's ring, and the Prince is actually in prison, and I'll give you what he wants for 10,000 guinea pigs.
10,000.
10,000 guinea pigs. And meanwhile, Polly and Christy are out on the boat, and they get access to the hold. And Christy gives the guns to her dad. There's some more nonsense with the doctor. There's like a fight, a big like cool. I mean, I don't know about you, but at this point, I actually kind of dug that it wasn't that I was listening to it like on my couch, because it kind of felt like an audiobook, like like those old like Davy Crockett records, because you could hear like gunshots, but then like the Foley of fighting. I don't know. It was kind of like retro and groovy.
Yeah.
So the good guys win, the bad guys lose. Jamie gets a cool fight scene with Trask because he's the boy demographic. And then they throw Trask overboard, and a big crocodile eats him. McKay takes command of the ship, and they go to France. Yes.
Nice.
Meanwhile, the Doctor and Gray and his friends pile into a rowboat. Christy finally gets to meet her dad again. The Doctor and Ben, they're all together. The gang, they're together again. Then they go to France, Perkins. They want to be accompanied to France to go to France with the Scots. Back on deck, the ship's gone. The travelers and Jamie intend to use Gray as a way to like get the redcoats to like get them to stay away, whilst returning to the TARDIS. They meet more goofy British. You know who the British redcoats also reminded me of, and this is kind of what is giving me they reminded me a lot of the comic relief redcoats that are in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Those guys? Yeah. So the Doctor uses a ruse to get the ring to extract Finch from a colonel who so Finch has been drafted to sorry, this is I'm trying to like remember, the wiki's really weirdly written. Polly produces Finch's identity disc to ensure his cooperation. The next morning, they're back at the cottage where this whole adventure began before everyone's lives changed forever. Finch is now on the good guy's side because he's like, I believe you. And suddenly they're surrounded by breadcoats. It's like it's Dr. Seuss. So Finch is like, Gray, you suck. I don't like you. Take him away. And they do. And he's out of the story. And then Finch is like, hey, 2 of the 3 of you are pretty cool. And then and they all then Jamie teaches them how to play bagpipes, which is really the only way this could have ended. And then they go off in the TARDIS.
Yeah. I like that Jamie only comes with them because he doesn't have anywhere else to go, and they're just like, it's fine.
I know, like it's so not like heavily wrought the way some companion origins kind of are.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost kind of like, oh yeah, we hung out in the Highlanders. You should come ride with us.
Yeah, I like that about his origin. I think that's good. I mean, we have to talk about the third and best disguise.
Oh, of course.
Where did the Doctor even get the fake mustache?
Yeah. Did he rip it off some guy?
I hope so.
Robin
just
Williams.
In one fell swoop. Just.
I need that right now.
Mine.
Mine. That's mine.
Robin Williams would have been a pretty great Doctor.
Interesting.
I said interesting. Did I say interesting or just say good?
I said interesting. You said pretty great.
Oh, okay. You know what I really like about this episode? It kind of confession, guys. Some of you might know that the 90s children's television program, The Magic School Bus, is on Netflix, and I've kind of it's become like my new comfort show. Like I'll just like if I have 30 minutes, I'll just throw on a Magic School Bus, and I really like it. And like this kind of episode reminds me of like, oh, the kids go on, or like the Magic Treehouse, where in this episode they meet King Arthur. In this episode they meet the Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that would happen, but and you can you can kind of Rumi. You can kind of see how like the original concept of like, oh, it'll be like an educational show, because you do kind of feel like you're getting some really cool, kind of children's content approved historical knowledge. And it's a lot more, I like that it makes the Scottish characters very empathetic. I think that's a kind of cool, mature move on the episode's part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I do. I like that. I just really, I really like this story. I mean, it's not as like fun and crazy as like Power of the Daleks is,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like it's a nice like triple hitter,
It's very
like,
quaint.
Yeah. You're just like, that's really good. I like this a lot, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it'd be the introduction of Jamie, I guess, gives it some more historical value.
Yeah.
That's also true. Jamie being a piper is interesting. It's because as the show goes along and you get to know Jamie more, he doesn't really bring up the fact that he's just a piper very much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what was Rose's job? She was a shop girl.
She's a shop girl.
She's a shop girl.
Yeah. That's true.
What was Martha's job? Oh, she was working for the bad guy, right? She was working for not Saxon. What was her? No, it was her sister.
She
was a doctor. Yeah. A platoon of Dragoon on the moon.
Yeah, her cousin, who looked exactly like her, worked for the Torchwood before Torchwood.
Who is an actress now? Like, she has gone on to do very cool things, and I'm forgetting her name right now.
It was Freema Agyeman.
No, her sister.
Oh, her sister. Okay.
I think it was like Gugu Muthbu Ra.
Yeah, her sister worked for Saxon.
Yeah. And Donna Noble was a professional bride.
A professional bride. Well, she was a temp.
Yeah, she was yeah.
I don't know. Cassandra, what are your sort of like thoughts on this story?
I forgot how solid it was.
Yeah.
Because, I love Jamie, and I think it's been, at least, 3 or 4 years since I've seen this. Or listened to it, I guess. So it really just, oh, yeah, this is where Jamie shows up, and that's about it. But it's actually, really cool. I like the swashbuckly elements of it, and, it's really, I liked how hands-on Polly is in this one. She actually does things, and she
She's a little entrepreneur.
Yeah, she's a little scam artist, So, no, yeah, this one's really good. I like it, especially in comparison to what we did last week. And it was all the fire.
I forgot when she lit a skull on fire.
Oh, right.
Grandpa, look! I think it was at that moment the doctor was like, I'm going to leave her in a marketplace.
Next week will be interesting. Or
Yes.
not, I shouldn't say next week. I mean, next time we come back to the Second Doctor, it'll be the Underwater Menace, which...
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited.
No, so am I. I mean, it's a disaster.
It's so good.
It's so good. It's just, it's like a Roland Emmerich movie. It's
my God.
It's the best kind of disaster.
It's so great. It's so terrible.
Nick, if you've ever wanted to know what synchronized swimming would be like on Doctor Who.
Oh man, it's amazing.
Get ready. So yeah, next time we come back to the Second Doctor, it'll be synchronized swimming in the Underwater Menace. But next
great
week,
band name.
Next week we'll be talking about the first 4 episodes, the first 4 parts of Doctor Who and the Silurians.
Also a great band name.
Actually, what it's called. Despite we will call it the Silurians because that story was obviously titled by someone who didn't know what show they worked on. But yeah, so that'll be the 3rd Doctor and the introduction of the Silurians.
The one with the Doctor and the Silurians.
Yep, it's that one story that they keep telling over and over again. This is the first.
Yeah, I mean, like that'd be funny if it had like the episode scheme of like Friends.
Oh, the one with the Silurians. Yeah, so and it's really good. And
the one where Phoebe moves in with the Doctor.
I like the cheese Craig to you.
Oh yeah.
So the Silurians next week. That'll be fun. The first part of it, we'll cover the first, I believe it's 7 episodes, I think. Yes. So we're going to be covering the first 4 next time, and then the last 3 the week after that. And then we'll be covering the Ark in Space with our first guest on the show.
Ooh.
Yeah. So yeah, it's actually it's actually one of our patrons. He won a chance to be on one of our podcasts, and he chose Ark in Space. So when we get to that, he will be on the show for that, and you too can be on the show for a future episode. You go to duelinggenre.com/support and become a patron. At $10 or more, you'll have a chance to win a spot on this show or any of our shows like Back to the Future Minute. And you can get a small speaking role on Geek by Night.
Small.
Yeah. I mean, the audio equivalent of an extra, basically, like a featured extra.
Like a cameo.
Yeah, like a cameo. Totally. So do that. And you can check out all of our podcasts at duelinggenre.com. You can email us, contact@thedoctorscompanion.us. You can follow us on Twitter @TDCpod. We're also on Tumblr, the Doctor's Companion Podcast.tumblr.com. Like us on Facebook. You can also, we just added a new merch button on the site. So if you go to our site, there's a merch section. You can also go to duelinggenre.com/merch. And we have a Doctor's Companion t-shirt that you can buy on TeePublic. They're really great. Their printing quality is really solid, and it's our podcast logo in t-shirt form. So go check that out. And that's duelinggenre.com/merch. And you don't even it's not just t-shirts. You can get it on a hoodie or like a coffee mug or a phone case or
a toilet seat.
Yeah, if you just want a poster that you just put on the wall or like in your office cubicle, you could do that. Or you could wait for us to have 12 podcasts and you could just make your own calendar. Works
The
too.
12 Days of Scotmas.
I feel like, I mean, ego aside, I feel like the 12 Days of Nickmas is much better.
Well, yeah, and St. Nicholas. And
Yeah, right. So...
for like a week, I thought that I was Santa Claus reincarnated. I thought that's what it meant to be named Nicholas.
Oh.
I was like, oh my God, am I Santa?
So cute.
Am I going to grow up and be Santa Claus? And I was like, no.
Oh, stupid. Why are you stupid?
You're so stupid. Santa Claus is German. All right.
Santa Claus. All right.
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus. So you can go pick up a shirt. And the cool thing about, if you want to buy one of these shirts or as a hoodie or a baseball tee or whatever you want to get, the cool thing about it is that we make a little money off of the sales of these. We get a little commission. We get TeePublic gives us a little bit off the top. So it's a good way to support the show if you don't want to be a patron or whatever.
And you get a shirt.
Go buy a shirt. It's like a one-time donation, but you get a shirt.
Yeah.
One of my biggest regrets is I never got an old school Generation 1 Totally Rad Show shirt, because that was like my favorite podcast back in the day, and they don't make that kind anymore. And I'm like, man, I wish I had like a way of showing that I was like a fan like way back in the day,
Mike O'Gorman has a Two Geeks, a Mike, and a Podcast shirt.
Oh, well, bless his heart.
Yeah, he wore it in an episode of Network once.
That must have been cool.
Yeah, that was super cool. I could link you to the episode, and it's just like he just comes walking through a door with my face on his shirt. It's weird.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So one thing I can't wait to do is direct a movie where a character gets to wear like a shirt of like my alma mater. That's something I always thought that was cool that directors did.
Oh yeah, totally. Or you could have them wear a Doctor's Companion shirt.
That'd be kind of weird if it was a movie I was directing.
Geek by Night. Yeah, Geek by Night.
Okay, that'd be cool. Imagine if like if The Terminal, like just Tom Hanks is wearing just like a hoodie with like Steven Spielberg's face on
it. Oh man! All right, well, yeah. So go check out all that stuff, and we'll be back next week. Oh yeah, and also speaking of Patreon and all that stuff, special thanks to Patreon associate producer David Jeffries. And couldn't do the show without him. You too can become an associate producer if you go check out our Patreon.
Yeah.
So go do that.
Anyone on YouTube could.
Yeah, it's true. Anyone on YouTube? Is that what you said?
I said anyone in YouTube could.
Oh, anyone and you too could. I see. Okay. I thought you said YouTube, and I was like, did I? When did somebody say YouTube? I was very confused. Okay. Anyway. Did somebody say YouTube?
Here they are now performing their hit Vertigo.
That's funny. I was picturing like some sort of YouTube mascot smashing through a wall.
Hey,
you guys.
I recorded a video where I talked to my ex.
Oh God.
Oh man. All right. Well, we'll be back next week with the Silurians.